We've been listening to NOAA Weather Radio, and this is live coverage from the Carolina Weather Group on May the 29th, 2018. We have just received word from the National Weather Service that a tornado warning has been issued for portions of western Mecklenburg County and portions of Gaston County. It has just shown up on our exclusive Carolina Weather Group radar. There it is, that red box on your screen, and we're going to go ahead and get that zoomed in for you there and read the full bulletin to you again to find out exactly what it is the National Weather Service is looking for inside this rain cell, this storm that is making its way across the area. If you've been watching our stream throughout the day, or of course been outside any place in the Carolinas today, you know we've had rain on and off throughout a good portion of the day. A lot of this rain with the kind of the exterior reach of subtropical storm Alberto, who is making his way the center of that low across portions of Alabama. But as we go ahead and get the radar up on your screen here, we're going to work our way into the Charlotte and Mecklenburg area to learn more, not only about this tornado warning, first and foremost, but also some of those flash flood warnings that you've been seeing scrolling on your screen here for the better part of the last several hours with us. We want to go ahead first and foremost, though, and find out exactly what's going on with this tornado warning. Once again, it is 8:49 p.m. Eastern time here on Tuesday, May the 29th, 2018. James Brierton with you from Charlotte. We may have some other folks from the Carolina Weather Group with us here in the next little bit here as we continue our severe weather coverage. But the area that we're interested in is actually right in here. So this is going to be just off to the west side of the Charlotte area, making its way into Gaston County towards Belmont. Let's see if we can work a little bit here with some of these transparencies so you can get a better view of some of the cities and some of the overlays on the screen back behind us here. But as soon as this tornado warning pops up on the screen, we'll be able to bring you some more the details. But again, this is coming from the National Weather Service, issued in the last few minutes or so. And this is going to go until 9:15. This is going to be until 9:15, and it affects southwestern Mecklenburg County and eastern Gaston County, as well as extreme northeastern York County there in upstate South Carolina. Severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located 8 miles southeast of Gastonia near Cramerton, moving north at 15 miles per hour. This is radar indicated, and what that means is that meteorologists at the National Weather Service in Greenville, Spartanburg, are looking at the wind rotation there of that storm, and they're seeing winds in a circular fashion, and we'll try to get that up on the screen here for you in a short bit so you can see as well too. That they've gone ahead out of precaution and issued that tornado warning. So nothing has been observed on the ground just yet, but it's a precautionary, and certainly if you're inside that polygon, you should be heading to a safe area inside your house, inside a sturdy structure, as far away as windows and doors as possible, in a basement ideally if you have one. The most dangerous areas that are inside this polygon include Lake Wiley. Hopefully no one is out on the lake, being that we've had such bad weather all day long. Charlotte Douglas Airport itself is within this tornado warning there. Matter of fact, if I can get my mouse cursor up on the screen for you, the airport located there at Interstate 85 and 485, so not too terribly far, just off to the side of the screen there. I'm trying to find my telestrator from where the center of that circulation may be, so I'm sure if nothing else, this will be disrupting flights if passengers themselves at the airport are not being moved to safe shelter areas. Also within this warning, Cramerton and Paw Creek, Gastonia, Belmont, McAdenville, Mount Holly, and Lowell. So this again is a tornado warning that the National Weather Service has issued. It goes until 9:15 for Mecklenburg and Gaston counties. And so we will continue to monitor this situation, as well as that of the flash flooding that we've been seeing in the higher parts of the elevation. That's the foothills and the mountains primarily, but also in some other areas here. Just because we've had that training of rain throughout the whole day, we do have flash flood warnings up in effect, and a lot of these counties actually still under what we're calling flash flood watches, because we just have this persistent rain that has been with us throughout much of the day. So we have those flash flood watches and warnings out because of flooding and pooling of water, even some evacuations in Watauga County. And again, we'll get to that in just a few minutes. One of the things I'm watching closely here as I'm on the air with you is National Weather Service chat. It allows us direct access to the National Weather Service and also to other folks, storm chasers or meteorologists in the area who are monitoring the situation. And so what we're learning from the National Weather Service is that the rotation in that cell went through Lake Wiley not too long ago, and that's about the time they issued the tornado warning. Rotation's there. It is on the weaker side, and they're monitoring the cell. What they're looking at precisely is actually a radar that is located for the airport on the north side of town as you make your way past Mount Holly towards Huntersville, just off of 485 there. You may have seen it a few times as well, too. And it is a terminal Doppler radar that is primarily used to monitor winds at the airport, but can also be used in situations like this to get a real nice look at winds inside a supercell, inside a tornado. And that's exactly what we have going on here. Right now, we're working on bringing up for you that exact view that the meteorologist there at the National Weather Service may be looking at, and we're also going to be getting a look from that terminal radar so we can see exactly what some of these winds may be inside this cell. But again, we do have a tornado warning here for western Mecklenburg County and eastern Gaston County, including areas like Belmont and Mount Holly. You're going to be in the bullseye here in the next few minutes, and so you should be heading to a safe place inside a sturdy structure as soon as possible. If you're joining our broadcast here as we come up towards the 9 o'clock hour and you're watching from other places in Mecklenburg County, South Mecklenburg, East Mecklenburg, this does not directly affect you. We're only talking here about western Mecklenburg County from the airport towards the river, Whitewater Center, and Mountain Island, that area there. And then we're again talking about certain areas into Gaston County as far west as Gastonia. I think in the next few minutes here we're going to be able to bring up the radar for you and show you exactly where we're talking about and try to time this out over the course of the next few minutes while we continue to also monitor again that chat from the National Weather Service. We'll also be looking at where the rain is elsewhere across our region, because I know some of you are joining us from some other areas that have been dealing with flooding throughout the day, and we've been watching radar and listening to NOAA Weather Radio if you've been on our stream for the better part of a little bit here. And so, we've been dealing with a little bit of that on and off as well, too. But you can see that tornado warning now, that polygon up on your screen. We're talking about that red box. This is the tornado warning. And so, again, is going to include areas like Mount Holly, Belmont, Stanley, Dallas, Gastonia, and this entire 485 western wall here are all under that warning. I mentioned a short time ago that one of the things that is being used primarily in a situation like this is that terminal Doppler radar out of North Charlotte there that monitors winds. And unlike traditional radar that looks at precipitation, when we look at winds, it shows up in reds and greens, and that's what you're seeing on your screen right now. Don't concern yourself too much with the purple. That is just kind of errors that are popping up, but the area that we're most interested in is right in here. And as we go ahead and we put this into motion over the course of the last hour or so, it's where those dark reds and dark greens come together that we're most interested in, because that represents winds moving towards and away from the radar really close together in a tight area. And so it's not super easy to see here, but what I'm able to do is I can actually split this. We're using the Radar Scope app that so many of you probably have seen or maybe have used yourself too. So on the left side here, bear with me, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put the more traditional radar up on the screen that so many of you are used to looking at, either on TV or maybe even on your own phones. And what we're looking for in these tornado areas is you start to see this little hook echo develop. And that's right where the tornado it may be. And again, this is just radar indicated. We don't have any confirmation from anyone on the ground or elsewhere that an actual tornado is on the ground, but they go ahead and they issue this tornado warning out of an extreme abundance of caution that we're beginning to see, and that is almost a textbook hook echo there. And let me see if I can pause this just in time here. As it makes its way just north of Lake Wylie, you can begin to see, and I think if I do this just right, I should be able to pan back and forth here. Here we go. Let me take this back just in the last few minutes. You see there's that little hook, that C right above Lake Wylie, and that's exactly what prompted the tornado warning. You can see there, it's at the bottom of that polygon. That's about the time that someone in Greenville, Spartanburg was getting ready to issue that tornado warning, because that's the exact signature that we look for on radar to indicate that we may have a tornado or some sort of rotation on the ground. And so that's why we do have this tornado warning for western Mecklenburg and eastern Gaston County for the next 15 minutes or so. I'm trying to think if we have any cameras or anything in that area. I think what we will probably best be able to see it on, if we're going to be able to see it at all, will be on some of the DOT cameras that take still pictures there along Interstate 85, and certainly we can try to pull that up in the next few minutes as well. Let's take a look here. Let's switch this back over to our other radar source, because I'm going to need to do a couple other things on our computer system here, including heard some updates come in from the National Weather Service, so we want to go ahead and take a look at that. Again, once we get a handle on this situation, we'll talk a little bit about those flooding situations that are going on, because we know that affects so many of you who may be watching us as well across the foothills and elsewhere. So we got radar back turned on here. Let's go ahead and turn the hazards back on, and we'll get those polygons up on the screen for you. Again, it is the red box, the tornado warning here, that we're most interested in terms of severity and impact in the next few minutes. And again, even if we don't get a tornado on the ground, we're still seeing some winds that are grabbing our attention. That's going to be something to look for as well, too. So oftentimes in situations like this, we get really honed in, we as in the public, on the word tornado, but we can end up with straight line winds or wind of other sorts of damage as well, too, or even hail. The storm capable here producing up to quarter size, 3/4 size, 0.75 of an inch hail as it makes its way through, too. So even if you don't necessarily end up seeing any wind damage, we could see some damage from that hail as well, too. So York County has been removed from this tornado warning. It is all clear in York County, but we're continuing to monitor again for western Mecklenburg and eastern Gaston County here, and that goes until 9:15, because as we were just looking at on radar here, we have kind of a couplet forming. It's going to be making its way essentially over Interstate 85 here in the next few minutes. I'm going to see if we have any cameras in the area. National Weather Service is telling us that a new couplet may be forming on that tornado warned cell. So we're going to watch for maybe a little bit of weakening and then something else to get going here. And we kind of saw that when we had radar scope up just a minute ago. We can go ahead and switch back over to that. We kind of saw it there. Hang on. Let's get that other radar up on the screen for you. There it is. That's a kind of a more clear image. Again, that image that we're showing you here is from the radar that is located in Charlotte. So we kind of get a very distinct, really localized, high-resolution image, which is nice. We don't have any DOT cameras immediately in that area. We do have some scheduled construction that is going on right there at mile marker 22 at the Mecklenburg County line of Interstate 85 as you make your way over the Catawba River there and into Belmont and towards McAdenville. Traffic is already moving very slow through there. I'm taking a look right now at a dashboard from the NCDOT, the North Carolina Department of Transportation. So that's a little bit of concerning as well, too, because we may have folks who maybe were already slowing down in that area. We may have construction equipment out on the roadway and other things like that as well, too. So we're going to keep a close eye on that. 9 o'clock Eastern Time, if you're just joining us, James Brierton from the Carolina Weather Group here. We were watching a tornado warning issued less than 15 minutes ago for western Mecklenburg County, eastern Gaston County, because as you can see on your screen right there, it's that area in red. That is the polygon. That is the tornado warning. On the left side of your screen is traditional radar. The right side of your screen is a radar image that is looking primarily at winds. And I'm going to go ahead and stop it for just a moment. Remember how we talked about we're going to see a little bit of weakening? So this couplet here just to the west of Belmont, not as defined as it was a moment ago, but I bet you in the next radar scan or two, we'll start to see that come together again. But it's you can also see it on the right-hand side when we're looking at the winds. There's an area of red and an area of green that come together right there, and those are those winds because a tornado, as you know, is going to be circulating. And so when we're seeing on radar, it's going to look like winds that are coming towards and away from the radar in a very close area. And so that's exactly what we see there. And again, the National Weather Service tends to get these radar images a few minutes ahead of us, and they talked about how that cell was breaking down and then kind of regenerating. So I wouldn't be surprised in the next few minutes if we see exactly what they are seeing, and so we'll wait for that to update as well too. Also waiting to see if any of our other panelists from the Carolina Weather Group will be joining us. Primarily, one of our interests is going to be Scotty Powell, who works up in the foothills with emergency management and is following the weather situation very carefully, because we do have numerous flash flood warnings that are up for those communities, and we can just to step away from the tornado warning for just a moment, to talk a little bit about those, because the reason those are going to be of interest to us is because flash flood warnings could also be of danger to life and property. We already got wind that there have been some evacuations in some of those low-lying areas, but you can see we have several communities. Matter of fact, this actually might be easier to see if we go back to the EDD. So let me go ahead and pull that back up, because that might be the easiest way to click on some of these and get some more information about them, and even show you where some of the hazards have been reported, which is going to be a little bit easier for everyone to see as we're kind of grappling with this situation here on the go. Again, this is all kind of associated with the outer bands, or really just the outer influence of subtropical storm Alberto. You can see it here on the left side of your screen, that area of circulation making its way out of Alabama into Tennessee. And although it's not a tightly formed, strong tropical storm or something maybe you would see during the height of hurricane season, all of this rain is associated with that. So while we're not in the direct path of a tropical storm, again, all this precipitation, you can thank a subtropical storm Alberto for that. So, okay, let's talk a little bit about the counties that are under this flash flood warning. So Watauga until 10 p.m. Again, this is because of those training of rain. We had a lot of rain last week. The ground is very saturated. The additional rainfall we've been getting today doesn't have any place to go, and it is just pooling. Excessive runoff, excessive rainfall over the warned area will cause mudslides near steep terrain. Mudslides can consist of rock, mud, vegetation, other loose materials. You may see it on area roadways, along streams, even in low-lying poor drainage areas. This is Boone, Blowing Rock, Beach Mountain, Sugar Grove. It also includes the area of App State. And so you can see this on the screen here. This is just for Watauga County. We have details for other counties as well, too. We'll make our way down towards Lenoir into Caldwell County. Same idea here. Blowing Rock as well, all in the surrounding area here. Cedar Rock, same idea. You can see it right here. Oh, I can't highlight. Please remember, turn around, don't drown. If you see water, standing water on a roadway, do not drive into it. You won't be able to tell just how deep that is, so you're going to want to turn around and find a different route. Matter of fact, if you can just stay in tonight, that might be the best bet. We'll turn radar off for just a moment so you can see all these areas in dark green here, the flash flood warnings, and making our way now down towards Morganton, Marion. Some of those cities as well here are in this flash flood warning. McDowell and Burke counties until 11 o'clock for those same reasons. Up to 2 inches of rainfall fell before 3 o'clock today, and then it just continued to rain in areas again like Morganton and Marion, and Old Fort and Linville and Lake James, Table Rock, South Mountain State Park. So if you live in any of those areas, the river stage at the Catawba River at Pleasant Gardens was 11.4 feet at last measurement, and at 11 feet, that's when it starts to flood into the nearby River Breeze campgrounds there. 12 feet, Pleasant Gardens and Deerfield campgrounds will likely have to be evacuated, and we've already got again some news that certain evacuations in certain areas just like that have already taken place. Let's not forget about Western Rutherford County, Henderson, Polk, and Bumpkin counties until 11 o'clock. You have a flash flood warning. Again, yeah, I'm sounding like a broken record, but this is just a continuing rain over and over and over again, and so we're going to again be seeing that here in areas like Asheville and Black Mountain, Hendersonville, because those rains are just continuing. We'll go ahead and we'll turn radar back on there, and you can see there's no end in sight just yet for all of that rain. And so that's why those flash flood warnings are in effect. We even have some flash flood watches that are up as well, too. I think I can go ahead and I can put the watches up on the screen, show you a little bit of where that is taking place. Zoom back out here, and you can see as far to the east as Charlotte, as far south to past Greenville, towards Greenwood, Spartanburg, all those areas, and just outside Winston-Salem up to the state line of Virginia are under a flash flood watch. It won't be until those rains move out that they will really really begin to clear those. But again, at this hour, just past the 9 o'clock hour, our biggest concern, our most immediate concern is this tornado warning that is in effect for western Mecklenburg County, eastern Gaston County until 9:15. Let me take a look here at some of the information that is coming in to us here at the Carolina Weather Group to find out exactly what the National Weather Service is looking at here. And again, when they mentioned a few minutes ago that as we're looking at this radar image, you can see a message popping up at the top of my screen there. The couplet is beginning to reform. So again, we don't have any confirmation from anyone on the ground that an actual tornado is on the ground, but we're getting a very good signature. Again, on the left side of that screen, you see that C shape. I will pause this, and it's right here, crossing 85, crossing Interstate 85 at the time of the last radar scan. I'm going to draw in 85 for you again real briefly here. That right there is Interstate 85. This is the couplet where that tornado would most likely be located if it is in fact reaching the ground. The thing to remember with tornadoes and of such radar images is they're scanning the upper atmosphere, so we're getting a reading that is slightly above the ground. So the best indication here, let me see if I can go ahead and measure this, is we're getting a really good observation from this terminal Doppler radar. It is less than 15 miles away. We're at less than 1,000 feet off the ground, which is significant because if we were taking this observation from another radar, then we would be much higher in the atmosphere. And of course, we're most interested in what's on the ground. Just in from the National Weather Service, they are now telling us that this tornado has been observed on the ground. Let's see if we can get some details from that to find out what type of observation it is. Law enforcement has confirmed that the tornado is on the ground. Flying debris will be a danger to those caught without shelter. So we're most interested, most concerned about mobile homes, those traveling along Interstate 85. Again, we mentioned there's a construction zone in this area, so we have extra people, extra equipment on the interstate that may not otherwise be there. At least that construction was scheduled to be underway. I don't know for sure that it is, but that is of concern. And again, law enforcement has told us that they have an observed tornado. We're going to go ahead and update our lower third, and so we can let folks know as they're scrolling through their news feed exactly what it is we are talking about here on our live stream with you right now. Again, this is a live coverage from the Carolina Weather Group. James Brierton with you from Charlotte, from a safe place in Charlotte, not inside this polygon. And so we are going to continue to bring you information about this and the flooding as we continue to get information into the Carolina Weather Group here as well too. We're going to see if we can get any of the other folks from the Carolina Weather Group to join us. If you are in a safe place, and I stress this, only if you're in a safe place and want to share what it is that you may be seeing, especially if you're in that area, the easiest way to do that is to send a tweet using hashtag NCWX in North Carolina. That will, of course, be published so we can all see it. But most importantly, that is what the National Weather Service will be monitoring, and they are the folks that need the information first and forehand. So if you are in a safe place, whether that's in the Charlotte area or elsewhere, go ahead and you can tweet that out, or you can put that in the comment section of this or of our other live streams. So again, we have a tornado warning of an observed tornado on the ground. This is crossing 85 just to the east of Gastonia there in Gaston County, and this is scheduled to go until 9:15. Being that we've just received word that the tornado has been observed on the ground by law enforcement, I wouldn't be surprised if this tornado warning gets extended. We are waiting for information not only from folks who are monitoring the situation from afar at the National Weather Service in Greenville, Spartanburg. We also have some community volunteer trained storm spotters who are monitoring the situation as well too. They're letting us know that they don't have anything just yet, but they are monitoring. It was in Cramerton, I'm just being told by the National Weather Service, that law enforcement agent was able to observe the tornado. No damage is reported just yet, but it is still early. Information is still coming in. Hopefully folks are in their safe place. Again, a safe place is going to be inside a sturdy structure, away from windows and doors. As far into this core, the center of that building you can go, the more walls you can put between you and the outside, the better. If you have a basement, all the better as well too. We're looking at an image on your screen right now via radar scope from the terminal Doppler radar that is located just on the north side of Charlotte. We'll switch it over to velocity mode where we can begin to look at the winds that that are in the atmosphere. Not actually as easy to detect in this mode as it is in the reflectivity mode. But again, we're looking at winds that are going to and from the radar, and we're looking right in here. What I want to do for a moment is I'm going to zoom this picture out. You can see kind of where the picture ends, because that terminal Doppler radar does a really good job of looking at things in Charlotte, but doesn't have a far reach. But the other thing I want to do is I want to switch to the radar in Greenville, Spartanburg for a moment. It's a little bit further away. We were talking before about how we're not going to get as low of a picture on the ground. We want to, of course, get something as low to the ground as possible. And this observation, by the time that radar beam reaches here, is more than 6,000 feet up in the air, because that image is coming to us from more than 75 miles away. But what this radar does have that the terminal doesn't have is some other tool sets. And so I want to look at what's called correlation coefficient to see if we can see any debris in the radar image. And again, this is coming from really far away, so if there was any debris, it would have to be really high, but it would be right in this area here that we would be looking for any sort of signature of any sort of activity. And again, we don't have any reports of damage yet, and that's the really good news, but we will keep an eye on that too. I'm going to switch back to the terminal Doppler radar because it is less than 15 miles, maybe 10 miles from where this alleged tornado is, and so that will be kind of the best way to see what's going on. And I can even push this in a little bit further here so we can get an idea of exactly where this tornado may be. The observed tornado right in here. Again, remember, they saw it in Cramerton not too long ago. And the other area of interest is Interstate 85, right about there. And so we probably have some motorists in the area as well too. And if I'm not mistaken, this line that I'm just drawing now would be the river. So primarily we're looking at the Gaston County side of the river here. We do have some areas of western Mecklenburg County that are within this warning, and that's because the tornado can dance a little. Remember how we were talking about a few minutes ago? One cell was breaking apart and another cell was forming. Well, when that happens, the path can shift a little bit, and we're actually playing the radar back here from the last hour or so, and you can see this thing gets started down here and then marches to the north, and that's because that's right when it got started. That's right when that tornado warning was issued, about 8:45 or so. And you'll remember that the polygon, that red box, was further to the south. And then as this thing marched north, they began to cancel this, and they moved that polygon up to the north to let communities know that are in the direct path what is going on. Again, a tornado warning means a tornado is likely and/or has been observed and could impact your area in the next few minutes. So we're talking about actions that need to be taken now, whereas a watch is something that is, likely to occur, could occur over the course of the next few hours. This is a warning. This is a tornado warning. Law enforcement has observed a tornado on the ground, so if you are in Stanley, Mount Holly, Gastonia, any of those communities here, you need to be in a safe place. We are coming up on the time that the warning was set to expire. So let me check in here with the National Weather Service and find out if they are in fact renewing this warning. I would suspect they probably are, after reading that they did have confirmation of it on the ground. So let's see exactly what it is that the National Weather Service has decided to do. They actually have let it expire. So let me read this here from the National Weather Service to you, just getting this in. So in the next few minutes, that polygon will probably disappear. The tornado warning for west central Mecklenburg and eastern Gaston counties will be allowed to expire as scheduled at 9:15. The storm which prompted the warning has weakened below severe limits and has exited the warned area. Therefore, the warning will be allowed to expire. However, heavy rain is still possible with this thunderstorm. And that has really kind of been the theme over the course of much of the day. And so they're going to go ahead and they are going to let that tornado warning expire. There it goes, disappearing off the screen right there for you in real time. So no reports of any injuries or damage just yet. But it is still early, so we will wait to find out exactly what law enforcement and community officials and volunteer storm chasers are able to relay to us, and we will be sure to pass that along. Before we send you back to just kind of radar here on our Carolina Weather Group, we want to show you again this picture right now, widen the view out, get a regional view. All of these areas that are in the green boxes here have They have flash flood watches. Flash flood watches. We're done with tornadoes for now. These are flash flood watches, so this will continue for the next several hours. We talked about watches means that in this area, conditions are likely to occur. And that is for flash flooding, because we had so much rain last week, we had so much rain today, that we're going to be watching again for pooling of water, rising creeks, poor drainage areas, things like that. We do have some flash flood warnings that are currently in effect, and let's go ahead and pop those up on the screen. I'm trying to get that tornado warning to disappear for you. Let's just go ahead and ignore it. The screen has not yet updated, but we know based on the conversation we were all just having that the tornado warning near Charlotte there is no longer active. That will disappear in the next few minutes on my screen here. But these areas right now in green, stretching from the mountains through the foothills and include areas like Asheville, these are all flash flood warnings. This is where we are getting reports, confirmed reports of where flooding is occurring along waterways and roadways and things like that. Even got some information earlier that some evacuations had been taking place, specifically in Watauga County. Again, a lot of those campgrounds and things that are located along those riverbanks, they went ahead and evacuated some folks from those areas as well too. National Weather Service is telling us that they've just spoken to the 911 police officials in Gaston. They had calls about the tornado touching down in Cramerton, and that's exactly where law enforcement saw it as well too. So we're getting some, it sounds like numerous reports, numerous folks observing what sounds like a tornado that was on the ground some 20 minutes ago in Cramerton. Law enforcement seeing it, as well as some folks who were calling 911 to report it. Not hearing of any damage. That's the good news. We're not getting any reports just yet of damage. So they've gone ahead and allowed that tornado warning to expire. The tornado warning is over. And so the immediate threat is over. And so that is good news. But just to show you again what it was that we were dealing with when we came on the air with you about half an hour ago, it starts down towards Lake Wylie and heads almost due north. You can see it there, that it's that C on the left side of your screen. That was the moment that a tornado was likely on the ground. Let's see if we can go ahead and pause it as well too. I can put this into manual mode. This is rolling back in time. This is 8:45. You can see it there at the bottom of your screen. This is in approximately that Cramerton area. And this right here is exactly what that tornado would look like. On the left-hand side, this is looking at precipitation. On the right-hand side, we were looking at wind. Not sure where the picture went. And it's that C shape there just south of Belmont. The tip of that C shape there as it hooks around, that likely would be where that tornado was located if it was in fact on the ground. What happens in a lot of cases is the National Weather Service, if they get reports of damage, if they need to learn more, is they will send a crew out to do on-the-ground observations. This normally doesn't happen until the next day when the actual event is over. If there is any damage to observe, they would do it at that time. And so there's no telling whether or not the National Weather Service from Greenville, Spartanburg, or elsewhere will be sending folks up to look at that. It was a very brief tornado warning and sounds like a very brief touchdown of a potential tornado. We won't know for sure, but as the law enforcement officials get out into that area and they take a look around, and as we get daylight tomorrow and we get a better glance at exactly what may or may not have taken place, they may make that decision to do a little bit of what's called a storm survey. But again, you can see here on my radar scope, the radar right now, we do have those green boxes, and those are flash flood warnings. In addition to in the high country, also out towards Southern Plains here, we have a flash flood warning for Pinehurst that goes for, there we go, the next 25 minutes or so. And this is for Moore. So this is southern Moore County, getting reports there from earlier rains that came on through. But primarily in a cluster area, it is the western North Carolina mountains that we're most concerned about. And this threat is not over. These rains are continuing and will be continuing for some time. And so that's why we are most concerned about the communities here, especially in low-lying areas. I just gone ahead and turned on the screen here, and what you're looking at now is we have some river gauges, some water gauges, and what's most telling about these is you're looking at a bar graph here, and that blue line is the water level, and it takes a serious climb upward here over the course of the last few hours or so. So as I make my way into Asheville, you can see it. You can even see the projected water levels over the course of the next few hours. This is the French Broad River in Asheville. I can make my way down now towards the Rocky Broad River at Bat Cave. I can make my way down into Little River. We're seeing the same thing. We're seeing the observed levels kind of making a real steady climb with that continued rain. You can even look, look at the Johns River here, just north of Morganton. Look at the way that blue line just really steadily hooks up. And so those are the flash flood warnings that we've been talking about, updating our lower third here, because over the course of the next few hours, as we continue to get more and more rain falling, and you can see we have plenty of it left over here, we're going to watch carefully for continued flooding as well too. Let me see if I can refresh this, because we do have the tornado warning is no longer active. The tornado warning is no longer active, so we are not concerned about that, and so that has been allowed to expire, which is good news. And we're going to be leaving you here in the next few minutes to return you to radar and to NOAA Weather Radio until the situation does return. Not surprised, completely surprised that we had one tornado warning, but for the most part, we haven't seen a lot in terms of severe thunderstorms or rotation like that. We did have some severe thunderstorm warnings in South Carolina earlier today, but as far as I know, I believe that was the one and only tornado warning, the one that we had there along the Mecklenburg Gaston County line not too long ago. So hopefully we don't get any more, but keep those weather radios handy. You never know. Just like that, I was sitting here going, why is the weather radio going off? And that's exactly why. So, although I wasn't necessarily expecting a tornado warning, it's always good to have that weather radio on and help make sure you don't get caught off guard. Okay, so I'm going to check real fast here to see if we have any questions, comments on the Facebook Live. We thank so many of you for tuning in for our coverage here in the last few minutes. What we're going to do is we are going to return you to our dashboard, our radar image here looking at the two-state area, and we're going to be bringing back up a NOAA Weather Radio, so you can listen into that too, so you can get details over the course of the next few hours or so as these rains continue. At some point, we will probably be stopping the stream and restarting it. That will probably happen in the next few minutes here, and that is just because Facebook doesn't allow us to go more than 4 hours, and we still have an ongoing weather threat here as we head into the evening hours. So don't be surprised if in a few minutes we stop the stream and then we bring it back up with a continued look. Just quickly before we go, let's see if we have enough light. We can take a look at Marion. You can see the roads are very wet there. Luckily, not a lot of people out on the streets. That's really good news. You can see some water on the lens there, but happy to see that most people are just playing it safe, staying home tonight. We also have a camera from resortcams.com up in Boone. We have a couple vehicles out on the roadway there taking a look at the street lights. You can see some rain falling, but luckily we're not seeing any flooding in the population densities of these areas, even as I switch to our Blowing Rock camera, although it's very foggy in the higher elevations there. But it's in those low-lying areas along the river streams where water may be pooling, running off from higher elevations, where we need to watch very carefully for those flooding conditions as we head through the evening hours. So again, continue to monitor media, continue to monitor your NOAA Weather Radio to get updates as information is needed. But for now, from Charlotte, I'm James Brierton. This has been special coverage from the Carolina Weather Group.
Mecklenburg, Rowan, and Union. In upstate South Carolina, Abbeville, Anderson, Cherokee, Chester, Greater Greenville, Greater Oconee, Greater Pickens, Greenwood, Lawrence, Spartanburg, Union, and York. Through Wednesday morning, abundant tropical moisture infiltrating in across the foothills and Piedmont of the western Carolinas and northeast Georgia will likely persist through at least tonight. Rainfall totals around the region this week will likely reach or exceed 2 to 5 inches. Locally heavier rainfall will be possible in locations that see repeated rounds of tropical showers and embedded thunderstorms, where rainfall rates could reach 1 to 2 inches per hour in the heaviest downpours. This heavy rain will fall on ground already saturated by rainfall over the past 2 weeks. Flash flooding of streams and creeks could develop very quickly under these circumstances, especially in urban areas. A flash flood watch means that conditions may develop that lead to flash flooding. Flash flooding is a very dangerous situation. Make plans now to avoid travel during the peak of the heavy rainfall. Also, have plans on where to flee to higher ground if flash flooding affects your location. You should monitor later forecasts and be prepared to take action should flash flood warnings be issued. Here is a flood statement. Flash flood watch remains in effect through Thursday morning. The flash flood watch continues for